think like my PhD story is probably quite similar to a lot of people. I really enjoyed doing my project when I did my undergraduate degree. I didn't do it at Edinburgh, I did it back in England. And I really enjoyed the scientific process of working on a project and stuff like that. So I started looking for PhDs, and I really liked it when I visited the Edinburgh group, both the group and the city, so I moved up here.
I already enjoyed astronomy and astrophysics as an undergrad student, or even before, and it was when I first tried a research project at the observatory in Lisbon during my undergrad degree that I realised I enjoyed research much more than the lectures. So after finishing the degree, I thought that going for a PhD I would have less lectures and more time for research than if I chose to do a master's.
Did a master's project in a similar kind of thing, in kind of mathematical modelling of a biological system, which I really enjoyed. I really liked the kind of experience of academia, the way academia works. I definitely think it seemed like the mathematical modelling area of physics, which I guess doesn't really count as physics, was something that was kind of new and exciting. I thought that was more fun than kind of traditional physics.
Before I started my PhD, I never wanted to be like an academic, but I always knew I wanted to work in science. I was thinking maybe the NHS or something, or maybe the Ministry of Defence, something like that. Since I started my PhD, I now really want to stay in academia, stay in science, if that's at all possible. So a PhD for that will be essential. And even if I'm unable to get an academic position, as hardly anyone does, only the very best, then a PhD will certainly be useful in terms of transferable skills, working on a project independently.
I haven't thought too much about it. I have some ideas. I wouldn't mind staying in academia, but I also consider other options such as science outreach professionally. So the PhD to stay in academia is definitely needed. For science outreach, it does help knowing what's the cutting edge science being done in the field.
I will probably carry on in academia, hopefully. So I guess, a PhD will obviously help because you need a PhD. Hopefully I'll publish some papers by then. I may end up working in industry. I'm not sure. I'm not totally averse to it, but I reckon I'll probably stay in academia.
It's actually hardly related at all. My university I used to study at didn't even have a nuclear physics department. We did nuclear physics as part of particle physics. But the skills you need in doing physics are similar for both nuclear and particle physics. So I felt adequately prepared, but the two aren't related at all, really.
My first degree was in physics, and I did a minor in astronomy and astrophysics, so it is related, yes.
It kind of is. So I did a project, like I said, this is one of the things that made me want to do a PhD. I'm doing a project now in mathematical modelling of these microbes, and I previously had done a project in mathematical modelling of honeybee decision behaviour. So I like this whole thing of mathematical modelling of biological systems. So that helped a lot, and I kind of knew the things I learned about programming and nonlinear dynamics, and a lot of the maths I learned has been quite transferable. So definitely my master's project was pretty relevant.
Talking with PhD students at the institution you're applying to is a very good idea. If you know them already, it's even better, because they should be your friends, your acquaintances. Even if not, it's definitely worth it dropping an email and asking questions about potential supervisors, because they would be the best people to tell you if a supervisor is good or bad, and what kind of research they do, or their way of supervising the students as well.
I would say read about what work they do and what interests them, and also pick someone that you can get on with on a personal level as well, because you're spending a lot of time with them. In Edinburgh, when I started, first they don't allocate a supervisor immediately. You get to meet everybody in the group, do a bit of work on various projects and then decide which is most suited to you. So I found it quite straightforward.
Questions, and be friendly, and make sure they seem like someone that you could get on well with for 3 or 4 years, because that's going to be quite important. And if so, I mean, it's also obviously really important to be really interested in the project, but it's definitely important to come and meet the person and be friendly and make sure that you get on well, because you don't want to be arguing with someone for that long.
Start with the most rewarding first, or something positive. I really enjoy going on experiments, and when the experiment works well and you can see it's working well, it's really rewarding, because you have to work very hard on it. It's rewarding for all the work you put in. And I recently had my first publication as well, and that was really rewarding, because the process of getting something through to publication could be fairly painful at times. The hardest is probably time management. Lots of PhD students do tutoring on the side as well, and as part of my scholarship I have a minimum number of hours of tutoring I have to do per week, which is fairly high. So trying to fit in all this tutoring, the preparation for the tutoring and your marking, along with your PhD and other outside interests, can be quite difficult.
The most rewarding moments, once you finish a set of tasks or a job, it is very rewarding that you see the results after probably months, sometimes weeks, but months of work. It's also very good to exchange about your science with other people, especially renowned scientists, because then you've got their input and their vision on the topic, and you do gain and learn quite a lot from that dialogue.
So I recently got back from going to some kind of conferences and summer schools in the summer and taking a poster there and kind of presenting some of my early results, which was quite rewarding, and it was nice to get some feedback and, you know, feel like you were actually getting somewhere. And it definitely is a very good feeling when you actually achieve something or get a result. And then the hardest aspect is kind of, you know, a lot of the time you're kind of left on your own and you're not really sure where you're going, and then you just have to kind of find a way to kind of work out what to do, because you are obviously supposed to be quite independent, and I think that can be quite hard, and it can be quite frustrating as well.
Yes and no, I think. I expect it to be a lot of hard work, and I also expected to be very interested by it and really into it, which turned out to be completely the case. But I think I've been surprised by how much responsibility I've been given, which is fantastic. I thought I'd be like a little wheel as part of the grand machine, but actually turned out that you're able to take leadership on some work, and that's been really rewarding. So yeah, I guess in some ways it's what I expected, and in other ways it's completely not what I expected.
I think it has been what I expected. I did find some surprises though, but were good surprises. But it's also, when I first started, I had a better idea of what was the plan for the very first year, but not exactly for the following ones. And these are shaped as your science and your work evolves. So I like it, but it's something which is not predicted initially.
It has. I think it basically has, yeah. So I knew, like, because I'd previously done a master's project that was quite good, I kind of knew how the process would work of kind of, you know, you get given a paper and you get given some minor easy task to do, and then you kind of build up from that into coming up with your own ideas, and I kind of understood how that process would work. And a PhD just feels like kind of an extension of that, but harder, and I have to do kind of other things like teaching and things. But I think it has basically been what I expected, because my master's project was so valid and useful.
That's the only one piece of advice I think, is to pick something you know will interest you for 3.5 years. Otherwise, you will probably have a fairly miserable time, I would think. But if you pick something that interests you, then it will be absolutely superb. It'll probably be one of the best 3.5 years of your life.
If you're reluctant to do whether to do a PhD or not, then I would say definitely it's a good opportunity, and you do learn quite a lot. It's an experience I wouldn't replace by anything else, but it's hard work, but it's worth it.
Try not to get too stressed, and don't worry if you feel stupid, because everybody feels stupid, so that's perfectly fine.